Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the coolest ventures, brightest founders, and exciting things happening in the Nordics. In this episode, our venture date is with Reverlast, one of the pitch competition winners at the Maria 01 Now 2025 event.
Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today we're taking a plunge into, one of those truly monumental environmental puzzles. What exactly happens to the colossal, incredibly tough blades from wind turbines once they, reach the end of their life?
Yeah, it's a big one.
Picture these giants. Some are as long as a football field, made from material so resilient it feels almost indestructible. What do you do with that?
Right. And for years, the answer has often been pretty grim, hasn't it?
Yeah, thinking massive landfills, blades just buried underground, or these incredibly expensive energy-guzzling processes.
It's a colossal waste challenge, to put it mildly. These blades, they're engineered for extreme durability, which is fantastic for generating clean energy, of course.
Absolutely.
But that very strength, that becomes a huge hurdle when it's time for disposal. And the sheer volume of them, the number coming up for retirement, is truly daunting.
It certainly is. But what if there was a way to completely re-envision this waste? To see it not as an end, but maybe a radical beginning?
That's exactly what we're looking at today.
We've learned about this ingenious solution emerging from a Nordic country, a venture that's turning this huge waste challenge into beautiful, long-lasting products, mostly for coastal living.
That's precisely the challenge they've tackled head-on. It's a remarkable example of rethinking what waste even means.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating is how they figured out a way to use the inherent properties of these blades.
Things that make them hard to dispose of.
Exactly, to create something completely new, something with, unexpected aesthetic appeal and incredible strength. So it solves both that pressing environmental problem and a common need for, anyone with waterfront property.
And the story behind it is pretty compelling too, I hear.
Definitely. The origin story is just as interesting as the products themselves.
Okay, so to really appreciate the elegance of the solution, we probably need to grasp the sheer enormity of the challenge first. Let's dig into that colossal problem these blades present.
Good idea.
Globally, we're talking about approximately 1.5 million wind turbine blades currently spinning. Just pause on that number for a second.
1.5 million. It's staggering.
And they typically have a working lifespan of, 20 to 30 years?
That's right, 20 to 30 years. And when they finally retire, they are, immense.
How immense are we talking?
Each blade can weigh anywhere from 15 to 25 metric tons.
Wow.
And stretch from 40 to a staggering 100 meters long.
100 meters?
Yeah. And the main material is this tough fiberglass. Once it hardens, it becomes extremely difficult, almost impossible, really, to recycle using traditional methods.
Right.
That's why the current disposal options are so problematic. They just weren't designed for material of this scale and composition.
That really underlines the severity of the disposal issues. You mentioned cost, too.
Yeah, disposal costs range from 10,000 to 20,000 euros.
Per blade.
Or single blade. Many are simply dumped or even buried underground, which, as you can imagine, is far from a sustainable long-term solution.
Not at all. And other methods?
Well, there's pyrolysis, basically superheating the material without oxygen to break it down chemically.
Okay.
It works, but it's incredibly expensive and very energy-intensive itself. Kind of defeats the purpose sometimes.
And this isn't just a current issue, right? It's getting bigger.
It's a rapidly approaching wave, absolutely. A significant number of blades are expected to retire between 2025 and 2039.
So starting now, basically.
Pretty much. And Europe, in particular, faces the highest density of these retiring blades globally. Think around the Netherlands, Germany, Denmark, the UK, major concentrations there.
So that really highlights this urgent need for, scalable, sustainable solutions for industrial waste like this. It's a crucial part of making renewable energy truly circular, isn't it?
Exactly. It's about closing the loop.
So what does this all mean for you, our listeners, whether you live near the coast or not? It means that the push for green energy, while absolutely vital, it comes with its own unique set of challenges. Addressing these industrial waste streams, like these blades, is critical for the long-term health of our planet and economy.
Absolutely. It's about making sure our efforts to combat climate change don't inadvertently create, new environmental burdens down the line.
Right.
And this is precisely where this ingenious idea we're discussing today comes in. It tackles that very challenge.
Okay, let's get into it. Explore the fascinating birth of this idea from what you called a whimsical dream to a tangible reality.
Yeah, the story goes, it begins back in 2020 with a visionary, someone who had this early, almost fanciful dream of building something very large and, importantly, something that floated on the sea.
Interesting, like a platform. Or
Just something big and floating. But initial research quickly showed it would be far too costly.
So shelved.
For a time, yes. The concept was put aside. But ideas, they have a way of resurfacing.
Especially when something clicks.
Exactly. In 2022, this same individual happened to read an article about the growing challenges of wind turbine blade recycling.
And that was the moment.
That was the pivotal aha moment. The realization hit. These massive, incredibly durable fiberglass blades. They're made of the exact same material and share similar structural properties as boats.
Wow. Okay. That is a connection.
Right. This insight immediately reignited that initial dream of building large floating structures. Suddenly, the material cost wasn't the obstacle it seemed.
And it wasn't just a fleeting thought, I gather.
Not at all. It led to really dedicated, intensive work. What followed were 2 years of thorough research, brainstorming, meticulous development.
So really digging in.
Absolutely. This intense period culminated in forming a company in 2024, and they already had a few crucial utility model patents secured.
Utility model patents, like mini patents.
Sort of, yeah. They protect the practical application or shape of an invention. And the team quickly grew, too, bringing in diverse expertise, engineering, art, business school backgrounds.
A real mix.
A necessary mix for something like this. And the core concept, it's remarkable in its simplicity, really, and its brilliance.
So what is it, fundamentally?
Instead of disposing of these gigantic blades, they're meticulously repurposed. Almost the entire retired blade is utilized.
The whole thing.
Pretty much. They're cut according to specific patterns to form the new products. These pieces then find a new, purposeful life as floating structures.
Okay.
And this approach, it aligns perfectly with the waste hierarchy, prioritizing reuse and prevention over recycling or just disposal.
Which is a significant step forward.
A huge step in truly sustainable industrial practice.
And the result of this innovative thinking is, well, you mentioned products.
Yeah.
A company called Reverlast.
That's them. And their flagship offerings are floating docks, but with a real twist.
Okay, floating docks. Given the source material, you might instinctively picture something kind of industrial or clunky.
Might, but you'd be wonderfully wrong. The aesthetics are truly distinctive.
How so?
The original lines of the wind turbine blades, they're an inseparable part of the design language. They keep those serene, curved forms that were shaped by airflow.
Okay, I can picture that.
And they translate beautifully to structures on water. It's quite striking. And as you might guess, there's a clear resemblance to modern fiberglass boats in how they look.
So it's not just reuse, it's upcycling into something genuinely appealing.
Exactly. Transformation into something beautiful and functional. And talk about durability.
Right, these blades are tough. How does that translate?
Well, think about this. Typical boat hulls might be, 1 to 2 centimeters thick fiberglass?
Yeah, around there.
These products use material that's an incredible 5 to 10 centimeters thick.
5 to 10 times thicker.
Yep. That extreme thickness, combined with their commitment to really robust construction.
Yeah.
That's what sets them apart.
What kind of construction?
They use high-grade, marine standard, acid-proof steel components, A4C5 grade, for those who know the specs. Oversized joints, sturdy frame beams, deck thickness that goes way beyond standard.
So they're really leaning into the over-engineered nature of the original blade.
Precisely. Since the core material arrives so incredibly strong from its first life, they decided to apply that same philosophy throughout their manufacturing.
And the like.
The estimated lifespan for these products is an astonishing 50-plus years.
50 years.
With only occasional maintenance needed. That's a dock built to last generations.
Amazing. And they offer different types.
Yes, a variety, each designed for specific needs.
Yeah.
For example, there's the Loika. That's their activity dock.
Loiker?
Yeah. It has a low draft, making it ideal for families, easy water access, great for things like kayaking, perfect for sheltered chores. It's about 3 by 2.2 meters and priced around 1,900 euros.
Okay, quite accessible. What else?
Then there's the Askel, their small boat dock. This one's really stable, features 2 robust wing pontoons. It's available in modules, so you can make longer walkways if needed.
Customized.
Right. And you can even choose between beautiful Finnish larch or pressure-treated decking. That one's 4 by 2 meters, priced at 4,900 euros. Good for a, cozy cabin boat.
Got it. And then the big one.
The Estrade, their premium dock. This is their flagship, and they describe it as unlike anything else built.
High praise.
It offers exceptional protection for vessels. It's colossal, 20 by 4 meters, weighs a hefty 30 tons.
30 tons.
And comes in at 39,000 euros.
What makes it so unique that, unlike anything else built, claim?
Well, it's the sheer scale, but also the integrated design. It's not just a flat platform. It really leverages the inherent curvature and strength of those turbine blade sections.
Using the shapes.
Exactly. To create a protective structure, often multi-level, that kind of cradles the vessels. It's designed more like a complete water-one solution, not just a place to tie up a boat.
That sounds impressive. And their customer experience. You mentioned something about warranties and coffee.
Right. They offer an optional endless warranty for an annual fee, which includes maintenance.
Wow.
Or there's a standard 4-year warranty.
Yeah.
And yes, that charming touch, we bring coffee site visits for potential customers.
I like that. How does that fit in?
It's a small detail, isn't it? But I think it speaks volumes about their human-centric approach.
Yeah.
In an industry that can often feel pretty transactional, it's about building trust, having a real conversation, showing that every interaction matters, not just the final sale. It really emphasizes their values, fairness, humanity.
Okay, so the immediate environmental benefit is clear, not burying or burning these things. But you're saying the impact goes much further than just recycling.
Absolutely. It's about a fundamental shift in how we view this kind of industrial material entirely.
So can we quantify that, the benefits?
We can. Let's look at some numbers. Every metric ton of product they sell prevents approximately 1.3 tons of CO2 equivalent from entering the atmosphere.
Just by using the blade instead of disposing of it.
Exactly. So take one of their wing end docks, that's another model, using one, prevents about 2 tons of CO2 from being released, simply by giving that blade material a new life.
That's significant per product. And there's more.
Yes, because it also displaces the need for other materials. By replacing the demand for, say, new plastic or concrete docks, they save an additional 0.6 tons of CO2 per dock.
Okay, so it's a double win. Less waste processing emission and less emission from making new stuff.
Precisely. It's genuinely a long-term sustainable choice. It actively reduces the demand for virgin raw materials like oil and quarried earth.
And it fights against that throwaway culture too, right? With that long lifespan.
Exactly. By creating exceptionally long-lasting and easily repairable products. I mean, they even offer a buyback option for heavily damaged items. They ensure these materials stay in use for decades. It's about valuing resources, maximizing their lifespan.
And it's not just about the planet, you said. It's about people too.
Very much so. This company is deeply human-centric. They focus intently on social responsibility. Their stated values are humanity, fairness, and empathy. There's a refreshing contrast to the sort of cold businessman stereotype sometimes.
How does that show up in practice?
Well, you see it in concrete examples. They're planning a company structure that includes an employee representative right on the board.
Oh, interesting.
And they have a bonus system where a full 30% of annual profits are shared directly with employees.
30%, that's substantial.
It really is. And that kind of structure, it fosters a positive work environment, somewhere everyone feels they can be themselves, contribute, and share in the success. It's a truly holistic approach to sustainability, environmental and social.
It sounds like a really fantastic venture all around. So how much momentum have they actually built? What does the future look like?
Well, they've seen pretty rapid progress. The company was only incorporated in October 2024.
Just last year.
Right. By late 2024, they'd already established pilot projects and secured those 3 utility model patents we mentioned. And then, that innovative marketing move.
Floating sauna.
The floating sauna, yeah. A community sauna built right on turbine wings, launched late 2024.
That must have turned some heads. Did it translate into actual market interest? Sales?
It absolutely did. They saw strong interest at maritime expos early this year, in early 2025. They secured initial B2C revenue, that's business-to-consumer sales, 14,000 euros in secured bank transfers.
Okay, so real money coming in.
Yep. And also substantial B2B, business-to-business soft agreements, about 80,000 euros pending on offers, plus 2 significant agreements, each in the 100,000 to 300,000 euro range.
Wow, so some big potential deals too.
Definitely. That rapid market validation suggests there's a real demand for this unique solution.
But rapid growth, it always
Right.
comes with hurdles, right? What challenges have they faced scaling up?
Sure. Initially, material supply and production capacity were seen as potential bottlenecks. That's pretty common for innovative manufacturing.
Finding enough blades and then processing them quickly enough?
Exactly. However, they've since secured a flexible production facility, importantly with direct shipping access. So that addresses a key challenge strategically.
Good move. Any other bumps?
Well, like many new businesses pushing boundaries, they've also experienced some delays due to permit bureaucracy. Just the real-world challenges of getting things approved and moving quickly.
Understandable. But despite those hurdles, the market potential sounds huge. Where do they see the biggest opportunities?
Their main focus right now is the North and Baltic Sea coasts. It's a region with a huge amount of waterfront property, a vibrant boating culture.
Makes sense.
They estimate the serviceable market just there to be over 1.1 billion euros.
Billion, with a B.
Yep. That spans the B2C floating docks, larger waterfront development projects, and marina enhancements.
So massive potential.
It is. They project ambitious annual revenues of 110 million euros if they capture just 10% of that market share.
And what would that mean in terms of material? How many blades?
To hit that 110 million euro mark, they'd need to utilize about 110 kilometers of wind turbine material annually.
110 kilometers of turbine blades every year. That really puts the scale of both the problem and this potential solution into perspective.
It really does.
So if you're listening, what does this whole deep dive mean for you? How should you think about this?
Well, I think this deep dive reveals a really powerful insight. The biggest waste challenges, like these blades, often hide the most resilient materials. And that demands a fundamental shift in thinking, doesn't it? From disposal to ingenious repurposing.
Yeah.
Reverlast really proves that durability, which was once the disposal nightmare, can be reinvented. It can become a core asset for new, long-lasting products. It fundamentally redefines waste as unrealized resource.
From burden to building block.
Exactly. And it shows how innovation on this scale can impact global waste challenges, boost local economies, and promote genuinely sustainable living.
It truly makes you question, doesn't it? What if our waste isn't actually waste at all? What if it's just a resource in disguise, waiting for us to unlock its next, maybe even more meaningful life? What other monumental problems out there are just materials waiting for a brilliant new purpose? Something to think about. We hope this deep dive has given you plenty to mull over. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or your favorite app, and connect with us on LinkedIn for more stories and insights.